I wanted to show you some design illustrations, and then I realized I had more than that in my files. And no one has ever seen these before. So like the life cast that we're illustrating today, this photo right here is Guy Manuel getting his head cast done. That was the finished version. Same thing, 2 halves, so that we could take his head off. And then the original gloves that they wore were sculpted over casts of their hands. So what we did is we had a cast of each guy's left and right hand. We put a layer of wax over that so that we had the pink wax, so that we had a thickness guaranteed so that it wouldn't be too thin in spots. And then over that we sculpted a ribbed surface, and we sculpted individual plates on the back of each finger. So in reality it was all one sculpture, including the plates. And then we actually made coverings that fit over each plate, and those were metallized. So it looked like it was a lot of different pieces, but that's how everything actually fit together so accurately. And then we started sculpting the guys. It's kind of funny how, this is kind of weird. All right, so this was Guy Manuel's head cast, and this was one of the concept sculptures for his character in the very beginning. And then with Tomas, the only request in the beginning was a wide visor, and then being able to have words go across it. So this is literally the very first sculpture that we did, trying to figure out what he was going to look like. Conversations in the beginning, you know, large. Tomas and I are both big fans of The Day the Earth Stood Still. So, you know, some of the proportions exist because of that character, the robot Gort from that film. So this was the very first sculpture, and we were trying to figure out how big the words needed to be. And we were more concerned about his vision and being able to look down. This went into a second phase where, again, we were trying to keep everything close to his head so that he could see what he was doing. And at this point, we had simplified the design around the ear, and the shape of the head had become rounder. Jawline, this visor, the beginning of the extended visor section is obviously starting here. So we got these this far along, and that's when Alex and Martine and Cedric and the guys came in, and we took the head casts, and they actually had done some illustrations based on this, and then changed it and gone down into a style that was more anime, because the guys were doing Interstellar, and they were, you know, they were heavily into the cartoon stuff at that time. So we ended up with a sort of a blueprint to work from, literally as a sketch though. This is pre-Photoshop, everything that we would normally do nowadays. Nowadays we would do a laser scan of their head and have them walk into a studio for, you know, 5 minutes and be done with it. Everything is so different. And then the gauntlets originally the guys wore gauntlets that controlled the electronics in their faces. So the idea here was they wanted to have certain buttons that would they could push to do pre-recorded and preset expressions and responses to things on one arm, and then the other arm was actually a keyboard that they could type. Well, Tomas could actually type a response into, and it would read across his face. So this was the beginning of that. In the very beginning as well, and these are the only photos that I have, in the very beginning, they have these collars. Tomas had this giant metal collar, but we learned really early on that it really restricted his movement. It looked really cool, but it also started to make him look a little thicker all around, you know, just because you're building on the proportions of a human body. So once the head gets big, it's always good to leave the neck thin. And we managed to keep the neck thin, but once the collar went on, everything just really bulked up, and it started to look more football player-ish than aesthetic and aerodynamically sleek.